Welcome to episode 2, in February, when I remind myself that I count. February's habit is to remember that we all count in cosmic consciousness. February's color is Fuchsia, and I guess it means we have a great fuchsia ahead of us if we practice these habits. Well, our goal for February is to know that you count and to believe it, and more importantly, believe in yourself and in others. Remember, every person is valued, honored, and respected for who they are. Hi, I'm Steve Bhaerman, and welcome to February, the second month of the year, where we focus on the important value of our own unique point of awareness and our own cosmic consciousness. And in February, we embrace the fact that we count and everybody matters. Each one of us makes a difference. As the Swami would say, each of us is totally unique, just like everybody else. So, on the 12 habit forming path, in February, we also celebrate love on Valentine's Day and personal worth and empowerment during Black History Month. So this is the vibration that we want to continue throughout the month. As you learned in our introductory episode, the 12 habits as a path to mutual enlightenment. This path is a new way to actually put our desire for unity and intentional evolution into real practice. We can grow spiritually, while at the same time, in putting these into practice in real life, we achieve what Bruce Lipton calls heaven on earth. We practice heaven on earth. We bring it to our little piece of heaven where we are. And that's why Bruce endorses the 12 habits practice. Now, these 12 habits are the best way and the most fun way that the Swami and I have found to be able to put evolution into practice, because we're all doing it together, 1 month at a time, same habit each month. And so now I would like to introduce my cohort in this webinar, the creator of the 12 Habits Path to Intentional Evolution, Elaine Parke. Welcome, Elaine.
Hello, Steve. I guess I'll remind both of us that we count during this month of February, and that we have a future, or fuchsia, as you so cutely messed up the word. We'll talk about the colors later, but I'm happy to be here today. It's February, the month of love, and I just love being here.
Okay, well, let's look at the month of February. Why did you choose February? Why you count? And all the different ways you could phrase it, why did you phrase it as you count? We're talking about universal love. Tell us more.
Again, I go back to the group of people representing the small community where this began in the early 90s. And as they were discussing February, we tried to make the habit of the month sort of fit what was going on in that month. So as you mentioned, certainly we have Valentine's Day in February. And during Valentine's Day, that's when we're absolutely 100% focusing on the value of the people in our lives that matter. I mean, many people look at it as couples, and I send Valentines to lots of people, probably 20 or 30 people during the month of February and Valentine's Day, because that's the month when I want them to know that they matter to me. Also, there's really been only one celebration that's gotten any big traction during the month of February, and that is Black History Month. And the essence of Black History Month is also about saying to African Americans in our country, you matter, something that they were missing up until the point that that got traction. So we thought, well, if we're going to make the month have a meaning, like for everybody, why not just further emphasize the point of Black History Month and the point of Valentine's Day and call it You Count, meaning each of us has to think both for ourselves and about other people, that every single person is important and integral to a society, to a family functioning well, a neighborhood functioning well, a community functioning well. And as we're having a lot of trouble worrying about these days in society, a country functioning well here in the United States. So that's why we made February You Count, Steve.
You know, something that's changed in the 30 years that you've been doing this is that more and more and more our lives are focused on the internet. Lives are focused out there online, and celebrity has become even more important. Styles, this externality, we're getting more and more and more of our cues from up there and out there. And it's easy for people to see, particularly kids, particularly people in high school, to see how they could possibly make a difference. So, Elaine, how have you helped people, particularly high school kids, recognize that they make a difference in their world?
Well, that's a really important question, Steve, because I think the advent of media and the social media especially is causing, it's causing some people to gain public exposure and feeling like they're influencers or whatever it is. But unfortunately, it's also causing kids to feel less and less important. When I would go into schools and classrooms during the month of February, when it was You Count, and I would sit in some of these classrooms in some of the poor neighborhoods where you said you were from, Steve, I would ask the kids, how do you think you matter? Do you think you're important? And maybe in a class of 20 or 22 kids, maybe 3 or 4 kids would raise their hands. And so I'd say to these kids, I'd say, okay, I'm going to prove to you how important you are. And they'd all kind of go, oh, you can't do that. And so I would say, but I'm going to need an accountant. So I'd bring one of the kids up and give them a pencil and paper. And I'd say, now I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to, it's only 11 o'clock in the morning, I said, 11 o'clock. And I'm going to ask everyone in this room, how many people, from the moment you opened your eyes, how many people have you come in contact with today? So we started around the room, and one kid would raise her hand and say 5, 2, some would say 10, on around the room until everyone in the room would give us a number. And then we'd add it all up, and I would turn to the kids in the room and I'd say, there's 22 kids here. There's 22 of us, 23 including me. And already, and it's not even noon, you have already influenced the lives of more than 500 people. How can you even remotely think that you're not important? The minute you open your eyes, you have a choice of how you're going to spend the next minute and the next minute and the next minute. You could open your eyes. You could go down into the kitchen and you could greet your parent or your caretaker or whoever it is, and you could be positive. You could smile. You could say, have a nice day. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning, you have the power to make a choice about the influence you have on the people you encounter during the course of the day. I sort of have a little personal habit that I've been doing for many years that I've never really shared before. But when I go into a commercial building, obviously usually stores, and I see someone doing a menial task, whether they're cleaning the windows, scrubbing the floors, stocking the shelves, I always go up to that person and say, like, wow, no wonder this store is so tidy. And, no wonder those shelves look so neat. You really do a great job. And talk about getting a high. I certainly hope I positively influence the people doing those jobs, but which could very easily be me. I would be, if God had asked me to do that job, I would do it, and I would do the best I could. But point being, that if I made their day, I know that having the opportunity to approach them and appreciate the work they do makes their day. So there is absolute proof. And as we get into the knowledge that we have about our connected universe and that we're all part of the cosmic universe, you could have a $45,000 car, and if you're missing one screw, it's not, excuse me, maybe I should have used another part. But anyway. Please, I hope the audience will forgive me. But if you're missing one part, the $45,000 piece of machinery isn't worth anything. it may not have been mentioned to this audience, but I'm also a holder of several patents. I developed a patent back in the late 70s, really, on the cordless electric scrubber, believe it or not. So I used to go into schools doing a program for kids on how a product is made. And when I would be bringing out, my first handmade scrubber was like plastic and wood and just looked like a piece of junk. But of course, it was the very beginnings. And I just showed how someone makes something. And then I would say to the kids, you're sitting here in this room and somebody made the lights up there. Somebody made the chair you're sitting on. Someone made the lunch that you're going to go and eat today. Every single person is part of the society that's making us all work together. So from my perspective, and what I try to share when I speak personally and on the air as I am now, is to let every one of us know there is no possible way that you don't matter in the world today. Whether it's social media, whether it's one-on-one, from the moment you open your eyes, you have 1,440 minutes. And not one person in the whole world has one single minute more than you do in a day. You count, and you can make your day better for yourself and for the lives of others. So I just don't put up with anybody feeling like they don't count, because I know they do.
I really appreciate that idea of we all have the same amount of time. That is the ultimate equality in life, even if other things are all things being unequal. I'm reminded of perhaps one of the most poignant movies of our lifetime that points this out is the great Christmas film, It's a Wonderful Life. And in the film, the main character, played by Jimmy Stewart, he's in despair about things happening in his world at that moment. And he says, "I wish I were never born." And then this angel appears who takes him on a journey that shows what the world would be missing and the world would be like had he never existed. And I think maybe if you're ever feeling that you don't make a difference, that is such a wonderful, poignant movie to put yourself into and recognize that all of your loved ones, all the people that you love, you've made a huge difference in their lives already. So that's the sense of agency that we have. We have the choice every day how to use our time. I had something happen a few weeks ago. I was going to mail a letter where I thought there was a mailbox, but there wasn't. I was out on my hike. There was no mailbox there. I had my letter in my knapsack. I'm going to take it back home. And all of a sudden, I see a mail truck. I go, oh, I can just go right up to the mail truck and mail the letter. When I went up to the woman, the young woman who is the mail carrier, she was beaming. She was like this radiant light, this great big smile, this great happiness. And I was blown away. I said, "You are having so much fun at work." And she said, "Yes, that's my mission. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. If I can smile, if I can bring good vibrations to people, I know that this is going to make a difference in the world in ways that I don't even know." So when I came back and talked to my wife Trudy, I said, I met an angel today, because she had decided to affirm how she counts by making sure that her encounters with other people were healing and beneficial. Any one of us can make the choice to do that. So Elaine, has there ever been a time that you felt that you didn't count, and what did you do about it? How did that resolve itself?
Well, needless to say, as I've explained in earlier episodes, I came from a very abusive childhood. So to say that I felt like I didn't count as a young child is an understatement. So that and it was in being taken into and put into a situation of volunteering where I suddenly received affirmations that I counted, that that whole picture just changed for me like night to day. So I think that I personally haven't ever really, I've felt ineffective. I felt like I didn't do a very good job sometimes. I felt like things didn't, I worked very hard at something and it didn't go the way that I wanted it to, or quite the contrary, maybe something I should have worked hard at, I didn't. So I've been judgmental of myself in terms of the success or the failure, or my own perspective about how well I did at something. But as far as, feeling like I don't matter or that I can't matter, I think that one experience back at age 11 catapulted me out of that. We ask ourselves, how can we remain in a frame of mind of I count as we go through our day? Like, for instance, we can begin with the morning affirmations, that I remind myself that I count. One of the first things you can say to yourself in the morning when you get up. We've been saying now since the 1st of January in episode 1 and now episode 2, that a very important way of reminding yourself that you count is stepping out of yourself and doing something for someone else. Because the minute you do, just like the mail lady, she did something for you, and you learned about how she felt that she knew that her job was her mission, and that she knew that she counted because that's what she was brought into life to do. And you felt like you counted because you were able to interact with her. There's also the perspective that many of us in our community have as an advantage, perhaps, over those who don't fully understand that. And this is that we know that we are part of a larger community, that we are, I am a unique point of awareness in the cosmic consciousness. I mean, that's who I am. I may have a name, Elaine Parke. I may have a mission, work that I'm doing, but mostly I am a unique point of awareness in the larger scheme of things. And so therefore, I know that I am an integral part of the whole of the cosmic one that is trying so hard to bring us humans into practicing more often behaviors that bring us into harmony and unity, and that value the planet that we're living on that's in great peril. So that right now, our planet, if you have any doubts whether you matter with other people, our planet needs you. Put out vibrations, praying for the betterment of the future of our planet, because everyone matters. Everyone's got 1,440 minutes a day to make the world better. And as the woman that you met with, or in episode 1, my January episode, I talked about the homeless man who would loan me his stubbed pencil. That man mattered to me that moment and that day. And that is as much a part of life that each of us matters as every other aspect. Certainly more important than the material things that life is so focused on today.
Something that really is important about the experience you had when you were 11 and you got the opportunity to help other people is that it took you out of isolation and put you into a community. And one of the biggest problems, one of the kind of invisible, because it's so much a part of who we are, in living in this society that actually promotes separation, is that we need to weave ourselves into community with other people and recognize that we count and we make a difference with them. One of the projects that I've really admired over the years is Alan Graham, who is a minister in the Austin, Texas area, has been doing an actual physical community for homeless people, where they build houses and have lodging for these people. They live in a loose-knit community. And he says that one of the major reasons for homelessness is people losing community, people losing connection. A loved one dies or goes to jail, or is involved in some difficulty, and all of a sudden people don't have the social networks that they require in order to thrive. And so part of you count and part of I count is beginning to build our self-esteem through our actions in the world with other people. It's not a matter of, I need to be so competent at this, I need to be the best at that. Again, going back to that original story of the homeless man who handed you a stub of a pencil, he counted because he had his attention out, he was engaging in the community, and in a certain regard, he was building his true self-esteem through his agency out there in the world in making an actual difference. So one of the great illustrations my friend Bruce Lipton came up with, I think we put it in Spontaneous Evolution, is that if you look at that classic picture of the prism, and you see that all of the colors of the rainbow on one side and this white light coming out the other, all of those colors, all of the infinite shades and frequencies all add up to this one white light. And he pointed out that if any one of those frequencies is missing, there is no white light. So to recognize that who you are, because you're here, only because you're here at this moment, who you are adds to the wholeness of everything. And without you, that white light could not be possible. So you're part of this, and then our choice in life, our agency in life, is to recognize, of course, we're part of something bigger, and that can be expressed in some small way in the world. Love is the expression of being connected, and we all have unique ways that we can express this love in memorable ways. I know Elaine has a wonderful story about visiting Sedona and meeting somebody like that.
Yes, I just have recently been to Sedona with my family, celebrating a milestone birthday, I might say, and so we were climbing a mountain path to it was sort of a rock monument, the kachina that kind of looked like a kachina, one of the symbols of Native American symbols. And as many of you may know, the kachina is often playing the flute. So we were walking our way up this trail, and it was just a beautiful day. There wasn't, everything. Of course, when you're a grandma with your kids, it's a beautiful day no matter what. But it was just a gorgeous day. And all of a sudden, I know we're walking up to this kachina rock, but I hear a flute. And I'm thinking, how can I be hearing a flute? It's a rock. So as we walk up, I notice that there's a man in a red jacket sitting on another lower rock formation, not far from the Kachina formation. And there was a group of people already come up. There must have been maybe 10 or 20 of us around there. And as we got into that area, this man in the white jacket, who had been playing the flute clearly, came down. His name was Robert. And he explained that he had once been an investment banker, and that 11 years ago he decided that just wasn't the life for him. And he gave it all up, walked out of corporate America and his investment banking, went to Sedona. He may already have known how to play the flute, I don't know. But he made it his mission to go to this rock formation every day during the week between 11 and about 1 or 2. He plays the flute, and then, here's the really fun part, when he's not there, he makes little hearts out of pieces of Sedona rock, so that everybody he encounters at the base of the Kachina rock, he gives them a little heart of Sedona rock, which he gave to us, and everybody was there today. One of the other couples, I think that had been their 4th or 5th time back, so they had more of Robert's rocks than the rest of us. But talk about somebody just inventing their own way to matter in the world. Think of the hundreds. He's been there for 11 years. I mean, we were there for a span of a half an hour, 11 or 12 people. I'm thinking about the accountant. I'm sort of thinking back to the accountant exercise that I do in my classrooms. You know, when you figure out, I mean, probably Robert had created more positive love and caring in the world with what he'd been doing the last 11 years than he could even remotely had ever done as an investment banker. And he certainly was a happy, wonderful man. And what a great, unique experience. I felt as though he was kind of an angel, and it made the whole trip very special.
Thanks, Elaine. That was really an excellent story. And it gives us a mantra for the month of February, letting people know you count. Be fluteful and multiply. And now, let's actually look at how you can make a difference this month. It's so simple. And again, if we make this a practice every day, send a note to somebody who made a difference in your life. Let them know that they counted. You don't have to do it every day, but just begin to make a list of people and then either send them an email if that's the best way, or a text, or even an actual thank you card. Send it. They get it in the mail. Nobody gets anything in the mail anymore except bills, right? It really makes somebody's day when they get something that actually is personal, that's directed at them, that's telling them how they counted. And then make a list of all of the ways that you have counted and the difference you've made in other people's lives. It will give you an idea of what you can do more of in February.
I want to add to that, Steve, because we are inviting people to become peer participants in this practice that we've started to practice 12 habits of unity and create a community of enlightenment and connectedness. And so probably February is the most important month for inviting people who are listening to us into this simple experiment that can take as little as spending a few minutes in the morning with a mantra, or saying a reflection on the fact that you count, and also reminding yourself that other people that you run across that day counts. It could begin with that, remembering that those reflections and that focused, coherent message is going to be going out into the universe. And as our peer participants grow as a body, then the effect of the coherent message that you count is going to go out further and further. And like the experiment done by the transcendental meditators in Washington, D.C. in the early 90s, where they brought crime down in D.C. 23% just through the targeted, coherent messaging being sent out by people who wanted to uplift and improve the violence, or uplift and prevent some of the violence that was going on in DC. So we can use the month of February to each of us remember that we do count, and that we can become part of the team that is working to create a better life for all of us through sending out coherent messages into the universe in the morning to remind ourselves and others that we all matter.